question number 48 says, in John chapter 19 and verse 26, why did Jesus ask John to look after his mother? Should we assume Joseph had died at this point? So, question number 48 has to do with Jesus on the cross being crucified. And so what we see in John chapter 19 is Jesus being on the cross. And what's interesting is that in the Gospels, there really is not that many times that Jesus spoke on the cross. I think that there's just 6 times, 6 recorded instances where Jesus had something to say. And you go back to Isaiah chapter 53, where it says that as a lamb before his shears is silent, so he uttered not a word. And so Jesus, both in his trial and his crucifixion, he really did not have that much to say. But one of the sayings of Jesus, as we pick up the story in verse number 25, it says, near the cross of Jesus stood his mother's sister Mary, the wife of Cleopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother there, and the disciple whom he loved standing nearby, he said to his mother, dear woman, here's your son, and to the disciple, here's your mother. From that time on, the disciple took her into her home. Now, that disciple whom Jesus loved is John, the apostle John, the disciple John that God used to write this book. I mean, that's the way that he identifies himself in the gospel. And we kind of need to understand a little bit about the day and the culture of the time. And that is that, like Olga, as you brought up, women at that time were thought nothing more than property. And so the way that people thought things is that, the wife was a responsibility of the husband. But once the husband dies, then the responsibility of taking care of a person's mother really falls on the eldest son. Now, yeah, we can assume that Joseph had died at this point. If you think about it, Joseph was maybe, 10, 15 years older than Mary. And so, it could be that Joseph got, up in years. We don't know how Joseph died. We don't know when Joseph died. As a matter of fact, other than what we see in the early part of the life of Jesus, we don't really know that much about Joseph. We really don't know that much about him then either. The last time that we see Joseph was when Jesus was in the temple teaching the teachers of the law and learning from the teachers of the law. And after that, we don't know anything about it. But I think that it's a pretty safe assumption that at this point, because we do see things about Mary in the ministry of Jesus, but we don't see anything about Joseph, we can pretty much assume that at this point he had gone on and been with the Lord. And so as Jesus, who had the responsibility of his mother, and since now Jesus is going to die, now of course he's going to be resurrected, and Jesus knew that, but Jesus knew he wasn't going to be on this earth anymore because he was going to ascend to heaven after his resurrection. He is passing on that responsibility to John, and so therefore it's just what he was saying, woman, this is your son, talking to John, and then John, this is your mother, and so there's that responsibility passing. What is interesting about this is that Jesus had half-brothers that could have taken on this kind of responsibility, and he was not passing it on to them. Instead, he was passing it on to John, and that's the reason why he said that on the cross, because if he didn't say anything at all, then that responsibility would have passed on to the next brother. But the only problem with Jesus and his brothers is that Jesus' brothers were not believers in him. If we go back and we take a look at John chapter 7, what we see is, as in verse number 1, after this, Jesus went around in Galilee, purposely staying away from Judea, because the Jews there were waiting to take his life. But when the Jewish feast of tabernacles was near, Jesus' brother said to him, you ought to leave here and go to Judea, so that your disciples may see the miracles you do. No one who wants to become a public figure acts in secret. Since you are doing these things, show yourself to the world. Now notice that last little bit. For even his own brothers did not believe him. Okay? And so here's Jesus' brothers really very harshly, when you look at it, telling Jesus, yeah, go on down to the feast. You got to show yourself to all of your disciples. If you want to be this public figure, then you've got to show yourself in that light. Only thing is, what we see with the life of Jesus is that Jesus never saw things for himself. Jesus never tried to be that public figure. Instead, he was there to do the work of God. He was there to allow other things like the miracles, like the word and fulfillment of prophecy, like John the Baptist. Those things were to identify him as being the disciples. And so here he is, half-brother of Jesus, half-brothers of Jesus, not believing in him. And so, Jesus was just simply understanding, no, John is going to be there to take care of my mother when I leave this earth. All right, anybody have any comments or thoughts on that question?
They believed.
They did.
James
and Jude. Yeah. James was the one that the Lord inspired to write the book of James. And then Jude was inspired to write the book of Jude. And I don't know about other brothers, if they became believers, but I think they probably did. But we do know about James and Jude. Yeah. All right. Anybody else?